Good morning. Welcome to the first ever Washington, D.C. High Impact Tutoring Summit. Yeah. We were just thinking that like 3 years ago, if you could close your mind and go back 3 years ago, City Tutor was, getting started. We were still running around with our mask on. We at OSSI were, and some of you may have met us on a loading dock. We used to give out COVID tests on the loading dock to charters every week on a Thursday so that they could test 20%. See, there's someone nodding. So that they could test 20% of their kids every week and upload the results so that we could post it on DC House. Like, if you go back 3 years ago, in the backdrop of reopening the school system, we were making huge investments, and this little thing that has now become a big thing, that has now become the thing, high impact tutoring. And so on behalf of the Office of the State Superintendent of Education, wave your hand if you're in Team OSSI. We're color coded today. I'm very excited about it. So we all have on shades of blue and tutor orange. I was told to wear these colors. And our co-hosts from City Tutor DC, so Kat, wave. City Tutor folks, wave. Okay. They're out there. They're working. They said good morning to you. We really are so thrilled, like super thrilled to be here today to talk about the progress we've made and like the promise of what high impact tutoring can be in DC and for our students. I look around the room, and again, Mayor Bowser made a historic investment of her recovery dollars. That part of the story is often not told enough, that these were not ESSER recovery dollars that were set aside from OSSI. These were executive dollars that were invested into this initiative, and we're a little over $30 million in. And so for the size and scale of DC, that is a significant amount of money. And for context, the state of Maryland has set aside $25 million for high impact tutoring. But when you think about the size of Maryland and the size of Washington, D.C., to set aside $35 million for high impact tutoring, it is why we are seeing the results. It's why we were able to design this investment, to back it up with research, and it's playing out in the lives of our kids in a really unique way that I hope, if not by the time I'm talking, but by the end of the day, will make you just tremendously proud on how we've set these resources up. I could talk to you more about the pandemic, but I don't think you want to hear that. I will say, if you were like myself and other members on the team, when President Biden mentioned high impact tutoring through the State of the Union, I sat up, I was gonna throw my phone, and people in my house were like, girl, calm down. I said, no, he said it, you heard it. It's gonna happen, because he knows now, and what we've known then, and what some of us have known even longer, that the tremendous body of research suggests, and it's even holding true in Washington, D.C., that having access to high quality tutors and high impact tutoring sessions is the intervention that allows for students furthest away from opportunity to not just have accelerated learning, but to have a sense of belonging, to enjoy school, to unlock the magic that we're all trying to have happen for all of our kids. And that's playing out in DC right now. And that is the recent data points that we are uncovering and finding. It's palpable in the state education agency. I hope it makes you as excited as it makes us. Just a couple of quick facts on where we are. So we know as we stand here today that we will not just meet, but we will exceed our target of serving over 10,000 students across DC and DC public charter schools. And these will be in schools and in spaces and places where children have been furthest away from opportunity. Because of the richness of the data collections and the systems and tools we have at OSSI, we can target our investments to the school, to the child, to the CBO, and that magic, again, makes DC really, really special. Currently, we have funded 11 full-time HIT managers. If you're a HIT manager, wave. Hey, HIT managers. And so I remember when we were talking about this aspect of the investment, any of you who are principals in the room, when we first, I see the HIT manager for Kramer walking in. When we first made the investment, we were engaging in conversations, and people were thinking like, why, how do we make sure that principals buy in, et cetera? And I said to them, no, I don't think you all understand. We are asking principals to adjust the master schedule. And if you don't pay someone to do that for them, this will be something that they will tell us in meetings is happening in their schools, but it will not live and breathe inside the school. And it's those tweaks to the way we've designed this investment that really play the difference. And not just because he walked in. I promise you Kramer is in my talking points, but I spent some time walking Kramer last week, and it was palpable because Kramer is what we call, or what I'm gonna call, they can decide if they'll let me, one of our all-in schools. And so Principal Shelby has redesigned the entire school so that every single child has access to high-impact tutoring. And if you walk the halls of the school, it's palpable the relationships that adults have with all children. There's little people everywhere, and there are adults in learning environments where they feel safe and they're being pushed. And I don't know if the folks from Blueprint are here, but, oh, hey friends, I don't have my glasses on, don't judge me. But I had an opportunity to go into a Blueprint classroom, and it was like half ER, right? Like it felt like we were in, there were tents and like triage stations, and there was like a palpable urgency because none of the kids turned around to look at me, which is huge, right? There were a bunch of adults, and there are 3 sets of curtains, and behind each curtain was a different grade content being taught and a different set of math instructions taking place. So 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 2 to 4 kids behind each curtain with a teacher. One, a veteran math teacher that we stole from a neighboring district, which I was very excited about. And then AmeriCorps teachers, some who had just joined the teaching faculty. In fact, they have had 8 of their high-impact tutors become teachers inside DCPS. And inside those sessions, right, things that we tell ourselves that happen in classrooms just didn't happen. Kids in each of their sections, learning, going back and forth at the board, completely ignoring the visitors, which again, if you've been a teacher or a principal, you know how dialed in your kids have to be, that they don't even see the adults. And I asked the teacher, and she was like, oh, we've trained them to treat you all like noise. And I said, yeah, and they were in their session engaged, and like, we look at the data in terms of the ground we have to cover in math, and then we go into a Blueprint classroom, and you can tangibly see exactly what has to take place every single day. It's not that we need more time in school. We need more structured time on task where kids are being met exactly where they are. And so, again, thank you for the work you do at Kramer. And it's an interesting story because they've made monumental gains in attendance and student growth and the social emotional wellness of their students, and it's because of what I would say, it is because Principal Shelby decided to go all in on high impact tutoring. Now I'm gonna keep moving along because I'm getting a look from someone, so I'll skip this, but Jaleel, thank you, and the Kramer community. If you have an opportunity to go visit all the schools that have high impact tutoring, but I'm telling you, it's magical what's taking place in that school. I do want to just say hello to lots of other friends in the room. And there are lots of, if you're a school leader, wave your hand. If you are inside a leadership team, wave your hand. If you're a teacher, wave your hand. They really want me to go through. It's not a club, y'all. I cannot do this. It's gonna take a lot of time. I hear Moton Elementary is here, so hey friends. I will call out one person because it's the person who taught me a very long time ago about the magic of high impact tutoring. And so Michael Duffy is the executive director of the Great Oaks Foundation. Wave, Michael. And Great Oaks, the fun fact here is that I worked for Michael when I was 23. I was a community engagement manager. Is that right? Is that where we started? But then Michael opened the first Great Oaks school in New York, and I joined him. And they now have schools in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Delaware. And that is where I learned fundamentally the power of high impact tutoring. By design, students receive tutoring every single day, and it is a core aspect of the instructional model. And so it's great. I hope you feel as giddy as I feel to see where we were, almost a decade ago as we were trying to get people to understand that tutoring, privileged children or children who have always had more, and I include myself as one of those children. I had parents that were like, ooh, we can't help you with this, but let's call the church and get someone to come sit with you every week. And so I think we try to make tutoring seem as this like super luxurious thing, but it's literally like, who is the adult in your life that can say you need more time, and let's match you with the person who can give you that time. We've taken the stigma away from it, particularly in schools like Moton and in Kramer, where every single child is getting it. There is no stigma. No one's getting pulled out. Everyone's getting the thing, and it's palpable to see how dialed in the students are. Like, students say, oh, I'm coming to school because I got to see my tutor. It's another adult that's checking on them, holding them accountable, and being a safe space for them. Because I was a middle school teacher. If you live in the land of middle school, you know that they're struggling with the babiness of elementary, but they really want to be adults like yesterday. And it's in those safe moments where they're making decisions about their future. And so I'm so jazzed up that we are here today to celebrate this. A couple of more minutes. I do want to say thank you really, really quickly again to all of our system leaders, all of our tutors, folks who are making this live and breathe in their schools every single day. Again, it is hard to force yourself to think about 3 years ago, right? The folks at City Tutor were already dialed in. They had already built an organization and were really starting to get us thinking about how high-impact tutoring could play out in the district. And then we were so fortunate to have leadership through the mayor to say, I'm going to make a huge investment that allowed us to accelerate learning in ways that are just palpable at this point. And so 3 years later, we do have proof in the growth of our students. We are learning every single day around how this is making a difference in the lives of children. But that was just done in 3 years. In 3 years, we have introduced an intervention into the entire district that is living and breathing in our schools, and now families say they want more. We did the budget forums, and parents stood up and said, like, oh, I want access to tutors. And even yesterday, 2 parents that I was like, oh no, your child can't get a tutor. I know what school your kid goes to, you know? And they were like, no, but how could we scale it through the district? How could we ensure that in every school, every child who needed more time could have more time? And so that's the question that I'm gonna leave you with today. We are working really, really hard at OSSE on how we think about sustainability. How do we work with our last bit of ESSER dollars? How do we leverage those dollars to ensure that this can live in our ecosystem as long as possible? And that's where the great work of all of you come in. It's gonna be critical that we work together in partnership to say that we have so much evidence that high-impact tutoring is not just something that's going to get us through the pandemic, but it is the tool that should exist in every school. It's a tool that should be accessible for every child throughout their learning journey, because that's what we know they need in order not to just close an achievement gap on a standardized test, but to truly make them lifelong learners that are always curious about their learners. It's going to change the way they even start to think about college and beyond. Last, I do want to thank my team. It is a small team, and so wave your hand, high impact tutoring team at OSSE, right? It's 5 people. And many of you know, and I always try to be mindful of saying it when we're in large spaces, we lost a member of our team, Charlotte, in the middle of this investment. And those of you who are nodding your head, as we were gearing up for today and just the enormity of how excited we are to come together to celebrate what I believe is hands down one of the best investments we've made in this city. It's never lost on us that Charlotte would be the one at midnight or 3 in the morning. She even yelled at me to say, like, think about this, push harder, we can get this grant out, go fight for more money. And it makes all of us, and I hope you feel this way, really, really proud to see like just how well we've done with what we would affectionately call her baby, right? And so with that, I hope you all know that today is a day to celebrate, to inspire, to learn with each other. I'm looking forward to positive impacts that this convening will have. Mayor Bowser's vision for what education in this district can be is palpable because she allowed us to make this type of investment. You may be watching the news. You may know we're in budget season. I'm looking at Scott. Scott knows we're in budget season. I saw Faith walk in. Like, I'm looking at all the advocate folks. It's going to be really critical that we hold hands on this one. Like, I know that there will be lots of areas where we'll be back and forth, and you will send me some love notes. I'm going to call them love notes. Like, before you yell, at least say good morning, superintendent. But let's try to commit to hold hands on this one. While we're trading lots of other things and advocating, rightfully so, for all of the things that we believe our children should have access to, if we could just make a commitment to hold hands on high-impact tutoring. It's the one thing that brought us in this room today. It is the one thing that in every single school I see playing out in the lives of children, and it's the one investment that I truly, truly hope we get to hold on to a little bit longer as we think about not just getting through recovery, but getting to a place where we know that every child in the district is getting what they need to live the lives that we would want them to live here in DC. And so, thank you guys. With that, I will hand the microphone over to our co-host for the day, Kat Peretti, Executive Director of City Tutor DC, who will serve as our MC for the day.
All right. One more hand for Dr. Christina Grant. Thank you all for joining us today in partnership with our colleagues at OSSE and Mayor Bowser's administration. We are delighted you're here. We founded City Tutor 3 years ago. In 2021, schools were grappling with reopening school buildings, emerging from the pandemic, and we were thinking about how can we best support students, families, and educators as they recover from the effects. So we formed a coalition to give quality evidence-based tutoring to DC students who needed it most. Typically, tutoring is something that's reserved for families with means, and we wanted to start with some philanthropic support and then branch out with this amazing partnership with our state education agency to reach all of the students who needed it most. And we want to thank our SEA and Mayor Bowser for investing in it. We leveraged existing tutoring providers and asked them to increase their dosage or change their curriculum. We launched new programs out of our local universities, and we recruited national providers to incubate and start DC branches, all in the name of strengthening the tutoring force available to our students and our schools. And we've helped school teams. We've helped them to change their schedule to fit high-impact tutoring during the school day and to see their own staff, their paraprofessionals, their aides, and their moonlighting teachers as high-dosage tutors in the last few years. And our coalition now consists of over 90 schools, tutoring providers, colleges, universities, and community-based organizations or out-of-school time providers working together to provide HIT and setting audacious goals because that is what our students deserve. And I'm proud of what our community has achieved. I took a peek at our data warehouse. Thank you to our Empower K-12 data partner team back in the corner there. I see you. And City Tutor has supported 13,386 students to date. And that's from a variety of sources, mostly OSSE, supporting these as well. And that's not just a number. It represents real DC students who have spent significant time, one-on-one or in small groups, with a caring and qualified tutor. Many of these students identify as students of color and are children who were farthest from opportunity and were impacted most by the pandemic. And this reach matters because HIT works when it's done well. And according to the standards that we derive from Stanford's National Student Support Accelerator. Hi, Nancy from Stanford over there. Research and experience shows us that more minutes of high-impact tutoring leads to more academic growth in math and in ELA. And tutoring builds a sense of attachment, belonging, and a positive attachment to school. In an analysis by Empower K-12, we found that students who received tutoring had higher attendance rates and more often reported they have an adult at school they can trust and go to for help right now. This means tutoring is also potentially a successful anti-truancy tool. It gives students that extra bump of love, and shout out to all the tutors in the room giving that extra bump of love when students need it most, and personal attention from a trusted adult. And students are not the only ones that benefit from tutoring. Across the city, tutors have contributed to instructional teams. Remember, this is often during the school day. While schools face staffing challenges, tutors have become both a teacher pipeline and an invaluable resource for teacher support. Tutors allow for greater flexibility in the classroom. They're teammates. They give opportunities for personalized instruction, and their time as tutors often inspires them to pursue further careers in education. So today's an opportunity to celebrate where we've been and a chance to look ahead and plan for the future. Dr. Grant named a lot of the benefits of high-impact tutoring, and as we look to the future, we plan to focus on 3 interrelated areas: scaling sustainable high-impact tutoring, growing and diversifying the talent pipeline for our educators and schools, and utilizing tutors as trusted adults that can fight truancy. These citywide strategies will expand our impact on student achievement and well-being as we advance innovative and flexible talent models in our schools. You'll hear all about it on our panels today. So, no one person, school, or organization can go this alone, and no one tutoring provider can fulfill the vast need that still lays before us. And so that's why we're here together, holding hands, like Dr. Grant said, united by high standards and a common vision for what tutoring can do and will do for our students. So thank you all for your commitment and your passion. It's not just an investment in the present. High-impact tutoring is an investment in the future of our schools, our students, and our community. And with that, I would like to invite Dr. Cheryl Holcomb McCoy to the podium, esteemed City Tutor DC Advisory Board member, to kick off the day. So come on up. Dean Holcomb McCoy is currently an Aspen Institute Ascend Fellow and the Dean of the School of Education and Distinguished Professor at American University. As an educator with 30 years of experience as a former kindergarten teacher, elementary school counselor, and family therapist, and most recently a university professor and administrator, she has a wealth of knowledge, expertise, and wisdom, particularly around how to build robust teacher pipelines. I don't think there has ever been a teacher pipeline initiative in DC without your involvement. And she's one of the fiercest advocates for high-impact tutoring and educational equity and strengthening our pipeline in DC. So please welcome Dr. Holcomb McCoy.
Good morning. So I was a kindergarten teacher. I'm very loud when I need to be. So good morning. Good. Thank you, Kat, for that wonderful, warm introduction, and much gratitude to the whole City Tutor team, Dr. Grant and Ossie, and all of you for the incredible work you do, and thank you for the invitation to be here today. I actually have on my sneakers because I've been on sabbatical and I haven't been dressing like this. I had to put my dean attire on. So I said one remnant of sabbatical is I have my sneakers. So just want to tell you a little story this morning and disclose a little bit about me. In 1972, and I know most of you weren't even born then, I was, believe it or not, a skinny little third grader with 2 big Afro puffs, 70s version, just picture that, living in Hampton, Virginia. There was a significant racial integration experiment happening that year in Hampton, and it involved the busing of black kids in grades 3 through 6 to white schools, and white kids in kindergarten through 2nd grade were being bused to black schools. Just imagine that. And if you are an education historian, you probably are very familiar with this story. It was going on everywhere in the country. My parents, like many parents, were nervous and afraid of this new busing experiment that I call it. However, I had no clue why I had to switch to a new school, nor did I know how fun it would be to take this long daily trip into this brand new neighborhood with all these new people. It was an eventful year. But if you ask me after that year what was the most memorable aspect of that tumultuous school year, I wouldn't say it was the busing to integrate schools. I wouldn't say it was my parents' fears or the new friends that I made. The most memorable event was the tutoring that I conducted with a first grade student. Twice a week, Miss Marhefka was my teacher. I don't know if, I always say her name and just hope that someone out there knows her. But anyway, twice a week, Miss Marhefka said, "Cheryl, I want you to tutor this first grader." And she instructed me to pack up my books twice a week. I headed right across the hall to this first grade classroom. And the teacher there would then hand me these little flashcards and a primer first grade book. It was like Run, Joe, Run kind of book. And I love to read. And I, at that early age, found books magical. So it was so much fun for me to help and tutor another student, to introduce them to the joy of reading. We would go out into the hall, sit on the floor, and I would show a little flashcard with a letter, and the student then would say if it was right, and I would help. Nope, that's not a P, that's a D, that kind of thing. And we were even sounding out letters. Phonetics, by the way, were a big thing in 1972. We won't even get into that conversation. I don't remember, and I was driving in, I said, I don't remember the student's name, but I do remember the high that I felt when that student knew her alphabets. It was a little girl. And her face, the face of joy and excitement when she could read a primer. I felt this deep sense of pride when the first grade teacher told me at the end of this experience, "Well done, Cheryl. You would be an excellent teacher." At that moment, I had found my life's passion. So in many ways, I'm here today because of that experience. It was the beginning of my commitment and my deep, deep belief in the incredible power and magic, what you said, of tutoring. We hadn't heard of high impact tutoring then. I was not an adult that was trained to do this. But it was this experience of learning and teaching that I was engaged in, and relationship building. It just introduced me to the joy of learning and teaching, and I believe to this day that it can inspire or aspiring educators to love this process. It's a mutually beneficial process that enriches both the student and the tutor. So this room is packed. When Dr. Grant was going over who's here, this room is just packed with, I know based on your roles, with similar stories and testimonials of the collective power of tutoring in DC over the last 3 years. Our coalition has not only improved the academic outcomes, but also the overall well-being of DC students who have been historically what I call not just under-resourced, not resourced at all, and who were the furthest from opportunities for success. So access for tutoring is a justice issue, and let's not forget that. That's at the core of what we're talking about today. So our future educators at American University have developed this passion for teaching, just as I did back in 1972, and it is just wonderful to watch. We've been a longtime partner of City Tutor DC, and in early 2021, when I got the call from Kat and her colleagues, I immediately said yes, and I thought about 1972. And our program is aimed to bring high-impact tutoring to our teacher candidates. It is embedded in our training. It is essential and foundational to our training. Our program aimed and is currently, back in 2021, it was aimed to bring high-impact tutoring by our teacher candidates to 2 elementary schools in Northeast DC, Henley Elementary School and also Perry Street Prep. I don't know if anyone's here from those schools. Hey, hey. The partnership was created to provide real-world training and experience to our teacher candidates and to improve outcomes for DC public and charter school students. The people in our School of Education who live and breathe the power of tutoring and are instrumental in bringing tutoring and making it a requirement. Let me say that again. A requirement for our teacher candidates are Dr. Ochezi Joseph and Aaliyah Evans that are back there. Raise your hands. They are the key to this program. We call our program AU Future Teacher Tutors, and we work alongside current teachers to plan and deliver high-quality tutoring opportunities. In addition, our school hosted practitioners from DCPS's Restorative Practices team to deliver monthly seminars in equity-centered practices. And this partnership also enabled more graduates to take on full-time roles in high-need schools, because as we think about teacher shortages and access to teaching careers, we just want that to be a seamless process. So from tutoring to training to going into schools and then placement as teachers. In 2022, our program expanded with the help of OSSI's Scaling Grant, which allowed our future teacher tutors to serve more than double the number of schools. The program was extended to Langley Elementary School, Sousa High School, Middle School, Cardoza High School, and Perry Street Prep, where the tutors provide high-impact tutoring for 367 students. And my dream is to double that number. You hear that, Dr. Joseph? Yeah, we're gonna double that. Our future teachers recognize that tutoring as a means of refining their teaching skills, which will lead to higher retention rates, and establishing long-lasting, culturally responsive relationships with students. Each of us here today has had similar encounters, like I had in 1972, where we have just witnessed the magic of the relationships that are foundational to tutoring. And we all know the research that says if students have one person that they have a deep relationship with, they will continue to be committed to schooling and to be present every day. So I see this as being systemic, and tutoring is just one piece of this larger ecosystem. So when I think about the end of the federal recovery period, the tightening of school budgets, DC students and teachers, we all need more. We need tutoring more than ever before. And like we all did in 2020, we must again rise up and meet the challenge and the moment of the day. We have proven that recovery and change and tutoring is possible, so we have to scale up and continue to do it. We need to tell the stories of our impact whenever we can. Folks need to hear your stories. They didn't start in 1972, but you can tell a story from 2020, 2021, right? So start telling those stories to whoever will listen. And even if they don't listen, still tell it. Tell them the story. So during today's summit, I hope you take the time to enjoy one another and center yourselves on the love and the joy of learning. This is what this is all about. And my hope is that you are restored, that your cup is filled today to go forward to even bigger heights. Thanks again, City Tutor DC, the mayor's office, OSSI, and others who are here. Good friends I see sprinkled out here. I can't wait to hug you and see you. Much gratitude to you all. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you.
All right. With that, with those words in mind, thank you, Dr. Grant. Thank you, Dr. Holcomb McCoy. You guys are superstar, amazing champions for this work. Thank you.